Greetings, YouTube. Happy Tuesday. I want to start out this video with a shout out to Legacy and Brian Grant and others who jumped into Incursions in the last 24 hours, got their early access preview, gave the community, most importantly, an idea of what this thing looks like. Because I know people who did dungeons every time, like I tried to do, and I know people who never did dungeons. And maybe they did it on like a dungeon day where they got special rewards, but you didn't want to do it because they thought it wasn't worth the rewards, and they had bad experiences with what I like to call Dungeon Tinder, where they were matched up with a rando that sabotaged their run, and then when the dungeons changed their refresh timers to where your 5 stars were out for like 4 or 5 days, you couldn't afford to be burned by a stranger who wouldn't do their path or who would stop communicating right after you jumped into the dungeon. So because of that, we're basically on this trajectory now where the game wants more people to do this content. So they have attempted to improve a lot of it and make it more fun. And Dork Lessons, when he talked to the Kabam development team, said flat out when he saw the preview, this was by far the most enjoyable aspect of the game for him. This is his favorite content. So why? Why is this so much better than Dungeons? Is this going to be something that's worth your time, especially since a lot of you have a lot more time than you used to, unfortunately, since you're cooped up at home? So Ultron's Domain Incursions. Incursions is kind of like a random word to me when people are like, you want to go to Incursions? That sounds to me like a failed CBS sitcom, but who knows? Maybe it's the perfect name for this. Ultron has digitized the battle realm, creating a twisted version of the contest in which the only victor is himself. So keep in mind this co-op is now going live on April 8th. So shout out to Kabam, first of all, because they were supposed to get this live on April 20th. 4/20 was the kick-up date, so high five to that. But they wanted to have a way to connect with friends and family around the world during COVID-19 because we're all needing that connection. And that is that's an important part of this. So Incursions. 2 summoners play together. That's no different than Dungeons, right? Single goal, defeat the boss, move on to the next zone. Pair up, select your team, face off against zones of randomly generated enemies and buffs whose difficulty will increase infinitely. Sounds like a lot like Dungeons, but in some ways, it's not. So, you choose the nodes that give you more agency, sabotage server links to remove a link node from an upcoming fight, swap champions in the middle of an incursion. That's the big takeaway that my subscribers were excited when they were talking to me about what they're seeing on Brian and Legacy's experience. It's a big deal in a way to swap champions in the middle of an incursion, but I do have to say that I get a little bit nervous about that only because refresh timers are really what make Dungeons, or made Dungeons since it's gone, kind of annoying, because especially if you don't have a huge bench of top 5-star and 6-star champions. Let's say you've got 6 champions that are really, really your best champions that you're excited to bring into this, and you swap out some for others, and suddenly you've got 4 out of 6 of those champions on a refresh timer for 5 days. Well, that's going to make it hard if you try to do the next incursion if they're still frozen. So this benefits those of you like myself who have really large, vast 565s and maybe even rank 4s. But if you don't, you still want to be careful, or you're going to be forced to either wait to do the next one or spend units to refresh them. Finish the zone, formerly rooms, to choose between healing or reviving your team, or activate a rare hack to give your champions new abilities. That's fascinating to me because when I think of hacks, I think of like what I used to do in Mortal Kombat 3 on the Super Nintendo. Item limits per zone provide more of a challenge. 5 items per zone. 5-day timers per event instead of 3 days. I do love that. I do love that because that gives you more time to do it. I still think that there's a large incentive to do it on day 1 so that if you have the timers as a 5-day span, they should be ready pretty close to the start of the next zone. Prepare to encounter any champion regardless of class. That is a big deal. And that is also one of those things where Before, you could kind of plan, okay, I'm going to have a warm-up champion. I'm going to have a Black Bolt before a Medusa, for example. Or I'm going to have a Ghost Rider before a Mephisto. Well, now you could go from Doctor Doom to MODOK. Or you could go from Iron Man, Infinity War to Killmonger. Or you could go from Annihilus to Mr. Sinister, right? Oh, good lord. This is a permanent game mode. They're available all month long. That is a huge difference from the last 2 weeks of the month. And the rewards and milestones have been revamped. Now, the rewards and the milestones, I feel like that's the big takeaway from this, right? Incursions, your goal to make your way through zones, servering linked nodes, acquiring hacks, empower your champion, switching your roster on the go to make the most of your hacks. Okay, so you can see the format looks very similar to Dungeons, and it looks so much more interactive, but also you've got these hands. I'm very thankful that the longest finger in these pictures is not the middle finger, because that's just would be an analogy to crystal drop rates for the most part. When you start Incursion, the first thing you'll see is a new map. There are still 2 sides, and you'll still be taking down leak nodes to help your partner, but now you'll be faced with a lot more choices. So preview bonuses. That's pretty cool, right? Oh, I didn't want to do that. Next, you'll take on a champion that provides a linked node buff. As the zone number increases, the numbers of buffs on each node will increase too. So, select a hack to help you conquer more zones. You could get a light attack enhancement, plus 20% ability accuracy. Attack rating of 40% is huge. Attribute boost, right? 20% attack rating. This is a flat out boost. Or Fury buffs gain 40% potency. Now, that is what I like to call the Hyperion hack. And then you can reroll hacks for 15 units, so that's a way for them to make some money or to have you spend some units, but it also is a fun thing for you. Need the help? There's another choice node coming that can help. After you and your partner have taken down the final boss, you each get to select another bonus. This time you can choose between Team Heal your team for 40% of their base health, Tend Wounds, revive all knocked out champions on your team for 20% of their base health, or pick up boss module, choose a rare hack. That's really cool, right? Like, that rewards you for taking down the boss. And there might be some situations, hopefully, where you and your partner do so well that you're not going to need to really heal much, or there's nobody knocked out. So you get to choose a rare hack because you don't need to revive. So it's actually also rewarding skill. And I think that is my biggest takeaway so far from this, is that Dungeons didn't really reward skill as much. I mean, obviously it still rewarded skill because you had to make it through several rooms unless you wanted to spend items or units to heal or start over. Whereas this, hey, if you cleared those 3 enemies, counting the boss, we're going to give you a fun bonus hack or boost, whatever you get. And that's incentive to do it, and that's incentive to fight well with skill. Boss modules provide you with powerful rare hacks. Everything from lightning fist to attribute boost multiplier to rage into combat. Pretty cool. Ever seen Dr. Voodoo dealing out shock damage? Nope, but I'm shocked now that he is. Haha. Boy, this also looks like it was shot on a VCR cassette tape. These rare modules open up a world of insane buff combinations. You can swap champions. Although, why would you swap Guillotine 2099 for Terrax? That looks like a terrible decision. Okay, Incursion Party. Look at that collector going through this. And, all that I'm going to be asked about really is, are the rewards worth it? So we're going to skip down to that. The goal of Incursions is to explore as many zones as possible and want to encourage summoners to push farther than they ever have before. So rewards are now available for milestones, reset again every 5 days. Milestones are achieved by earning points. You now get points to complete a room. Top zone rewards only can be earned once per month. So that is kind of a big takeaway, right? And are awarded upon reaching the highest zone you can for the first time that month. So that also really incentivizes you to go as far as you can the first time that you enter. For example, if you and your partner make it to Zone 4 on your first run of the month, you'll earn the top zone rewards for Zones 1 to 4. If on the second run you make it to Zone 6, you'll also earn the rewards for Zones 5 and 6, but not for Zones 1 and 4. Okay? So that makes sense, but it also is trying to push you to go further with zones, because if you've already claimed the rewards for Zones 1 to 4 or 5 to 6, it doesn't make any sense to do another incursion but only repeat the zones you've done, because you won't get the rewards twice. Sectors 1 and 6 have top zone rewards up to Zone 10, and will include gold, artifacts, and crystal shards. Sector 7 also has gold, artifacts, and crystal shards in Zones 1 and 10, but also has extra top zone rewards all the way up to Zone 25. that include gold and 5-star shards. All right. So, formerly called Dungeons 1 to 7, sectors represent your difficulty level. So, the top tier is still tier 7, looks like. But, or I guess I should technically say tier 7 is the bottom. That's very confusing because Dungeon 7 used to be the most difficult. Now, tier 7 is the least difficult. And tier 1 appears to be the most difficult because you need to own 16 plus 5-star champions for sectors 6 and 7. Potions and revives. Incursions use their own potions revives. They're looking to make money off of that. So I'm a big fan of rewarding skill. And again, shout out to Brian Grant and Legacy. They ran that video last night. I do think this rewards skill. If you can only realistically make it through like zone 10 without spending a ton of revives, I feel like a lot of people might just do it at the start of the month or whenever they can, and then once they reach that zone 10, they might just wait until the next month to do it again when the rewards reset. That makes logical sense. But who knows? There are going to be a lot of people who want to push their skill level and who need some skill-based content other than Alliance War or questing that do try to make it to zone 25 and don't care if they have to use a bunch of units. We're also talking about whales here who units are not an option. Money is not an option. So I think my big takeaway on this is that it's going to reward skill. And I think that is a great thing for the game. I also think that maybe the servers are going to be able to handle this more because we saw a lot of emergency maintenance or unscheduled maintenance when the dungeon server would kick in the last 2 weeks of the month. And that's probably seemed to throw things off. And so when Kabam kind of can operate the server on the same expectations of usage for every day, hopefully that helps them out on their end. This video was a lot longer than I thought it would be, but by the time I got through most everything, we're here. So sorry if this was too long for some of you, but hopefully you found this information helpful. The bottom line for me is that the new dungeons reward skill, and that is a great thing for the game. Kabam, thank you for all the work you've done on this. I look forward to jumping into this with my Battle Room bestie, Miss Katie Candy, in a little bit more than a week. Until then, have a great rest of your Tuesday.